Everybody, welcome back to Conversations in Pop Culture, and we are back in the saddle once again for another season. And I just want to make it crystal clear that I am still working on wiggling my big toe and the rest of my little toes because I did have a surgery and the nerve blocker is still in effect. So I am working on feeling like Uma Thurman from Kill Bill. So I'm working on it, and I'll keep everybody up to date when all of them are moving. But enough about that, because I have with me Nathaniel from Tomorrow's End, which is a very cool project that we're going to get into in 1 second here. So welcome back to the show.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me, and glad you're healthy enough to do it today.
Yeah, no, I'm more than happy to interview, and I like interviewing people, and obviously, I'm being tested, but I really can't complain. I'm back in my house and I'm slowly recovering. But you haven't been on in a while, in at least 6 months, if not longer. And so I want to catch everybody up on what Tomorrow's End is, what you do, because there are people who are going to be hearing about you for the first time and everything that you've done and what exactly, because you're in a lot of different sectors. So
Yeah.
I want to catch everybody up really, really quickly before we dive into some of it.
Oh, cool. Well, I guess a quick overview is we consider ourselves a Christian art multimedia project, or a camp for short. We are a band. We go out, we perform in 22 states. We do live performances. We also do like music videos. We have a video serial with 21 episode that's in the style of the old video serials of the 30s and 40s on YouTube as we speak. We are in comics. We do comics. We do games. We just released a card game as well as let's see here if I can pick it up, as well as a board game with the characters from the comics. We are theatrical in everything we do, but it's all theatricality with a message. It's a big allegory or parable. You see the characters behind me. That's the characters that appear in all the media, from the videos to the comic, to the games, to the live performances. So again, we're all those things, but we're also a little bit more that we got into in the last 6 months. We have animated episodes that we'll be getting ready to air that are called the micro episodes, the cartoon adventures. They're going to be like 1 minute cartoon shorts, but then you watch them all together and it'll be a full episode. And so we've got into that, but we've also got into stop motion, where we'll have a stop motion shorts with these characters that tell a story. Everything's about telling a story with a message and trying to get people just to think about things. And hopefully you like the art and the entertainment along the way.
Yeah, so obviously we're going to talk about a bunch of stuff, and I figure we'll talk about the music stuff first. So obviously, you have, I think, over 40 songs, 4 or 5 albums, and obviously, it's Christian themed. There's a lot of messaging in there, and you do a lot of content. And obviously, what is this like? Because we're in an area in society right now where people are starving for content. People want to binge content. And when you have 40 plus songs readily available across 4 or 5 different albums, and obviously, just some of it, a few of the titles are Pull the Lever, The Jester and the Trickster, White Pages, Cogs, Illumination, Die of Die, Reverse, Facade, and a variety of other things. And so what is this like? Because it is impressive to get out that much content in a very short amount of time.
It's actually part of a project. The music albums are Tetralogy Part 1, Volumes 1 through 4. And we actually released 40 songs at once just a few months ago. And the point of this was there's a lot of variety. It's all rock, don't get me wrong. It's all rock music and it's a rock band. But it is more than that. Like there is multi styles within all these 40 songs. So if somebody, it's all, a similar and the same message, rocking for Christ, as some would say. But the issue is, there's many different subgenres and different genres within, the rock platform, to where you got like kind of Western sounding rock. You have a little bit of pop rock, a little bit of just heavy metal, a little bit of techno or rave rock, some soft and some, just hard rock. So it's putting it all in these different styles. So people, if they check out the 40 songs, which are available on all streaming platforms and on our website for free, if people want to check it out for free, hopefully there's something in there that will get people to, listen, and they'll say, hey, I like this. Maybe I don't like songs 1 through 10, but boy, songs 11 and 12, I dig those. And it's just about giving people a choice. But here's the cool thing. Like you said, we live in an age where people want to binge content. Well, if people wind up, testing the waters and sampling Tomorrow's End, if you like it, you will be binging for a while, because again, we have the 40 songs we released, and everything, there's layers upon layers of it. So if you actually go to the website, it's every song has got a picture where we literally try to make an artistic picture with live action characters to try to represent each song. And then it has an explanation of the song, the lyrics and everything. And that's the cool thing. The reason we did it this way is so if you're a repeat viewer or repeat listener, you can keep on going back and finding something different instead of saying, well, I've heard that song before, it was okay. But if you go to listen to it a second time, maybe you put your headphones on and say, hey, I didn't hear all these different instruments this first time, or hey, I didn't hear that message, or I didn't know what this picture represents. So it's supposed to, really engage all your senses and get you to come back listening over and over again.
Because you mentioned something really interesting, and I really like the model of try before you buy, and also sampling. And I think it's really important, especially with new projects and new materials, and especially when you're brand new, and even when you're out there, because there's always a new buyer. And so, for instance, somebody might not know your music, but they could listen to it and they can say, okay, cool, I'm getting a feel for it. And my experience is that, a lot of times, especially in digital comics, and we're going to get to that in a second, but if you give a first issue out for free, he's like, I really like this stuff, and you have 4 or 5 other issues, they might buy it, especially if you give it out digitally. A lot of times people will then come back and buy a physical. So what is that like for you? Because I think it's a really smart business model, and I think it's a really cool hook. And I think that a lot of people should implement that more in what they're doing. And so I just think it's really smart, and it's a good move.
Well, thank you so much. Yeah, I'm a big firm believer in kind of, you bet on yourself. So if you're, I've always been, astounded sometimes when I would see people from whether it's the Christian rock genre or just media in general, when people's like, hey, go buy our stuff. And then they don't tell you, anything it's about. You don't know what it's like. And they're saying, you take a chance on us. Well, we're doing the opposite. We're taking a chance on everybody else. We want people to go to it, sample it, listen to it, or check out the comics, which are going to be available digital. Some of them are already like on our Facebook. We can go through and look at the art and everything. But we have so much faith in our products that we are wanting people to sample it. We're wanting people to listen to the songs, watch the videos, and then even check out the books. And then if you like it, that's how you can support us. There's so many people, because we touched on that, this is a Christian art multimedia project. What we're trying to do is, I guess, repair the gap that's been, I guess, that is worldwide, where a lot of people think, oh, this is another Christian artist. This is another.
It's very much, sorry to cut you off. It's very much that there is a stigma with it.
Yes.
Where unfortunately you hear something, and, obviously, every group, and there's reasons why stigmas exist sometimes, but it also makes it somewhat harder. And I think you're trying to say, hey, look, we're not what you think we are. And you have to convince somebody to say, hey, we're a little bit different, and we're taking a different approach. And it's a little bit, you have to convince somebody a little bit more. And whether that's right or wrong, it's just the nature of the business. And I think it's very complicated sometimes. But I think you're doing a good job with it by allowing people to sample, by not shoving it in somebody's face, not saying you have to buy this today. Hey, you can check it out on the website. Because I think that's kind of a big deal as far as the music stuff goes. And I think it's really important, because if you were just to say, hey, we got this album, buy it, and they can't sample it, it's going to be a harder sale.
Oh, I agree. And also, like you said about stigmatisms and things that exist, there's so many people that have even ripped people off under the Christian banner or in the name of Christ. And we're trying to say, hey, that's not what we are. That's not even what the Bible is. That's not who Christ is. Those are, people that have, may not even have Christ themselves, but using his name to try to make sales. So we're trying to repair, that divide, so to speak, and just show people, hey, we're not going to sit up here and ask you for money. We're not going to just ask you, hey, just give to us or anything like that. What we want to do is if you sample the products, if you like the products, that's how you can support us, is by buying our products, not by just giving, we're not sitting here asking you to just give us money so we can go do, what we want to do, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, there's a concept where you have to earn every dollar.
Hmm.
Obviously, I run ads. I just released my ad rates on this show that people are well aware of, and I want to earn every dollar. And so when I pitch to sponsors, I make it crystal clear that I'm going to earn every dollar. And I
Hmm.
think, creators really need to understand that in every sector is that you're not entitled to anybody's money and you have to earn your support. And when you
Definitely.
earn people's support, it's very powerful. And so I think it's very interesting. And then even to go further into this, what I like about what you guys do is that, and you mentioned, is that you have those long music videos and those long serials. And obviously they could be watched individually, almost like a 3 or 4 minute,
Hmm.
video of just one song, or it's a whole, I don't want to say a concert, but a full like good hour and a half of music
Yeah.
that connects, and people can watch it how they so choose to some degree, but that's also a hook in a lot of ways. And so what is that like too? Because that's just another way how to watch something
Hmm.
and experience something that maybe somebody doesn't catch it on the website, but they see it on YouTube, or they resonate something with it on a visual level, because sometimes we see things visually and we have a different experience in that regard. And I think that's also really smart because it's another entry point.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that's actually the point of it. Is some people just like to listen to stuff. Some people just like to watch stuff. Sometimes it's the same audience. A lot of times they overlap, but many times people will hear something and they don't resonate, but then they see a visual and they're like, "Hey, wait a second." That's the reason. Again, there's still people that listen to books on tape or audio plays, but in general, Netflix and HBO Max and Hulu, they do a lot better than those sites because people are more watching stuff than they are listening. So yeah, that's the whole thing, is just to engage people in every sense that they have, that we can provide. And the thing about the video serials, they all link, so you can watch one episode and be like, okay, cool, that's a song, and I get kind of what the message is. But then if you watch the next one, it links and it links, and there's like 4 different acts, and if you put all 4 acts together, it tells even a bigger story than each act does. So it's just building on it to where people can invest in it and feel like their time, I guess, is not wasted because it's all going somewhere. It's not just, okay, this is over now. It's like, hey, this connects to this connects to this, and it all means something bigger than I thought it did.
And it's also interesting because, this isn't behind a paywall. And that's nice too, where it's, free. I mean, obviously, YouTube, if you get monetization, hopefully there'll be ads eventually there, and that'll help to support what you're doing. And, we all want that
Mhm.
as creators, but, it's nice the fact that it's not behind a paywall, because when things are behind a paywall, it does change it and it makes it harder. I feel for somebody to be like, cool, I'm going to throw $5 to watch this.
Mhm.
Versus saying, hey, I just go on YouTube, I see it, and then now cool. And then obviously it becomes a hook, as I was stating, and becomes a funnel. I'm big into funnels. I'm big into getting entry points to get people to other places on your website or whatever you're doing. And so I think it's just really smart. And I like the fact that it connects. And I've watched some of it, and it's just another cool thing that's nice that you do as a company, because it builds upon the music and it really leverages that side of it and what you're doing. And then to even go further into this, because this is a media conglomerate in a lot of ways, because you do games as well.
Mhm.
And so you have a board game and a card game. I don't know which one was coming out the last time you were on. I
The
don't know if
card
you,
game had just came out last time.
because I don't remember the board game,
It
but
wasn't.
what is that like? Because this is a whole different sector, and obviously the person with my other show before you, my friend Chris Brown, he develops board games. And one of the things is that it's a fascinating world, and they're bigger than ever. And so, what is this like? Because the people who are into board games might not necessarily be the ones who are interested in music or comics, but they might have the same values that you want to portray. And that could be expressed in a board game or a card game, but you're hooking that audience member still. And so, what is that like? Because it's tricky, because it is complicated to build a board game.
Oh, it was very complicated. It took a moment because you have to figure out. You kind of sometimes have to set up. You kind of cut out pieces of paper at home and try to say, does this really work? Are these rules correct? We actually just unveiled it for the first time over Connuga, which was this Comic Con we just did at the Convention Center in Chattanooga, Tennessee, which was a wonderful experience. Really, really cool con and really awesome people.
We're going to talk about that.
Oh, yeah. Oh, very cool. But we actually got to unveil it, and people's response was very warm to it because, again, they usually don't find a lot of independent board games. Usually they're, at the cons. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's some, but the majority is stuff you find in Target, Walmart, game stores, comic shops.
Off the shelf, $20 Walmart.
Yeah. Yeah. So it was, a lot of people thought it was really cool that we had a literal, a brand new game. And then when people said, so it has a message too, like, yeah, that was hard to do because to have a game with a message takes a little bit, but it's really cool because you get to meet a different type of people, a different set of, like you was just saying, these people they don't care about the music. They looked at our CDs and like, okay. They looked at the comics and like, I see comics before, but they are into games. So it's just another avenue, and it's something really cool. We've been very blessed with the ability to create this stuff. And it's really just to try to get, like you just said, the people that like that type of stuff, games and stuff like that, into Tomorrow's End and figuring out what the basis of Tomorrow's End. Here's the thing. I'm not doing this to line my pocketbook. I'm not doing this to, be famous or anything like that. It's literally just to get a message out in all these different platforms through comics, games, music, videos. So that's, at the end of the day, that's what we're hoping. We're hoping that these things.
Let's actually talk about that too, because this is one of the cool things that obviously you're trying to get a message out. And, I'm a big Dave Ramsey fan, and Dave Ramsey is a very well-known Christian. He believes in Christian values. He seems very genuine in what he believes. And he talks about business. He talks about how he's managing God's money in a lot of ways, or the other way to put it is grandma's money. And for those who are not religious, it's the same message. It's just how you want to analyze it. And one of the things is that you need money to operate, to get your message out. And this game obviously attracts a customer, which allows you to allow the company to grow. And so it's very cool where, there's nothing wrong with running a business and having the music be profitable and having the game be profitable and get the message out, because you can have a good business and do good and get your message out. And it's, what is that like? Because I know that it's not about the money, but it is nice when it is self-funding and it's working and people want to support and they like your message and they want your product because it has a message. And I think that a lot more businesses are actually coming out with that message attached to them. And companies I know have saying, hey, we care about the environment. And so we're going to make an active statement on this, and it's becoming a core part. And I think it's very interesting because the response from what I hear from you was very well.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a very positive response to actually all the stuff. I guess the biggest thing I would say is because all this stuff so far has been self-funded, like we've sold our own collections, we've done things like that because we believe in it, and so that's what we've done. And sometimes when I'm in interviews, people say, "Well, what are you going to do when that runs out?" Well, like when you run out of stuff to sell, so to speak, or whatever. And my theory is, and my point of view has always been this: whenever that point comes, this will take care of itself. Like you was just saying, if people buy comics, that will allow us to do the next comics or the next project. Same thing with a board game or anything. It will be self-sufficient. And so that's the whole point, that, like I was saying earlier, not saying that it's the worst thing in the world to do a GoFundMe or a Kickstarter or anything like that. I'm not saying that. I'm saying there has been so many people in this genre, so to speak, well, under the Christian flag, that have took advantage of people and stuff. We're staying away from that. We're wanting to show people, if you want to help us, buy our product, sample it, because first of all, even if you don't read, guess what, buy it, then give it to somebody that does read, because it's a self-sustaining model, hopefully. And that's really the goal, is just to, again, reach people, and that people will sample this and enjoy this, and that's how they can help us, is just by buying the product. And then we'll get to go on and make more. Like I said, we have an animated thing coming out, 2D cartoon, as well as a stop motion animation later this year. So and there's more projects beyond that too. So
because I mean you're touching upon something, and I'm a big advocate. So it's not a secret that I'm a big capitalist. I
Mhm.
have no qualms about it.
Mhm.
And I like to build businesses. And when you build a business and if you build it correctly, the business should take care of itself. And the most important thing in a business is two things: your employees and your customers. And if you take care of both of those things, then the business will take care of you. And if you're providing a good service or a good product, you'll be taken care of and then you can continue. And I think that's where you're going with this.
Mhm.
And, it's just good business sense. Obviously, I've heard it be called a lot of different things, but, Christian businesses that operate that way, they are to some degree, for profit, but they're getting their message across and they're delivering a good product to their customers. And you get to do your message. And I think you're going to get there with this,
Thank you.
especially with things like the board game, because board games, people are wanting that stuff. And this is a sector that is extremely niche. And I'm not a board game player as much as I should be. I just so happen to have a lot of friends who do this. And again, this is a untapped market. So I think you're going to do fine with it. And I think that it's going to take care of itself.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
So that's what I think as far as the board game and even the card game as well, because people want this and people want to teach good Christian Judaic values to their children.
Mhm.
And they really want to express that because who, as a parent and even as a young adult, doesn't want to express goodness
Mhm.
and good morals and things of that nature? And so I think it's very, very interesting what you're tapping into. And I don't know if you realize what you're tapping into, but you're touching upon something that's very interesting.
Well,
Um,
thank you very much.
and then obviously the card game, and then I do want to talk about the comics before we get to talk about the animation and the stop
Okay.
motion stuff because I think you have 4 comics. I know you had three.
Yes. Yes, we have,
Three.
we actually just released 4 over the weekend. So yes, issue 4. Where is it? Right here, actually. It is out.
And so, I mean, I know we spoke about this before. This is why we're going a little bit quick, everybody, in case you want more in depth, obviously. Because I do want to talk about the comic experience and this animation and stop motion stuff. But your comic can be read on a very basic level of
Mhm.
just doing the right thing with the characters that you have built in your band that have appeared all throughout everything with Tomorrow's End. It could also go deeper, it could go more philosophical. It could be read just as a nice story. And there's a little bit of everything in your comic
Yes.
between, kingdoms, I think giant robots, and superhero stuff. But it's also the idea that these characters are figuring out choices, how to be good. Also, potentially, if you make a mistake, how to fix it. Also, maybe you make a bad call, and guess what? Life moves on, and you get the next one better. And it's very cool because it's a nice all ages read that has a lot of good, I guess, moral compass lessons in it. And so, what is this like? Because it's nice to see a comic that isn't, adult, for
Mhm.
lack of a better word. And I say that as, a compliment. Hopefully,
Mhm.
it's taken that way.
No, I get it. Well, yeah, it's really cool to get this opportunity because it's all about showing, again, like you just said, the levels. So if somebody just reads it and wants a fantasy story, it's going to have, again, like you said, robots, uh, skeleton pirates, aliens. It's got all these different things within it. But if you look at it at a deeper level, these things represent certain things. They represent, like you said, bad choices or sin in general, or just how do you get back on the right path after you've been on the wrong path? How do you fix a mistake once it's already been made and it's already kind of tarnished your life to a degree? Like again, you hear people all the time, they're on drugs, they have a stroke. Well, they can't take back their stroke. So how do they, it's about how to get back on the path to, where you need to be. So, again, if people just read it, it'll be a cool fantasy story that they'll be engaged with. But if they go deeper, there's levels upon levels, and each issue focuses on different characters up until issue 4, where they all come together. And then they fight the trickster and his henchmen and everything. So it's all builds towards something. And these are not the only comics we're doing. This is what is out right now, but there'll be more comics in the future very soon.
And then to even go further into that too, because I think this is more aimed at children. I think that obviously it's aimed at that demographic, and the music is universal, but music sometimes is aimed at a higher age level. Sometimes the board game might be aimed at a little bit of a higher age level. And what is that like too? Because when you are building out a company and a product and you're trying to get your message across, you want to hit every demographic you can hit.
Hmm.
Obviously on this show, I have a particular demographic. I'm not aimed at a 5-year old,
Hmm.
and that's fine. That's not my business model. But, I think with you, you want to be aimed at the 5-year-old, the
Hmm.
10-year-old, the
Hmm.
35-year-old, potentially the 50-year-old. And
Hmm.
you do hit that across a bunch of different products. And these comics do that. And then I just went down into the con stuff. But when you go to a con, if a kid is with their parent, they see a comic book, it's an easy sale as well. And it's an
Hmm.
easy entry point. So what is that like? Because that's interesting.
Well, the thing about the comics themselves is, like, again, a younger reader, 10 years old, a teenager, whatever the case may be, they can read it and they'll probably sometimes they're extremely smart. So maybe they'll get all of it. But sometimes we, sell kids short, but maybe they'll get all of it. But they get it as the good versus evil lesson and stuff. And so they get it on one level. But if a 20 or 30-year-old or a 40-year-old reads these, there's a lot of deep stuff in here. That's why I always tell people it's not just for kids. It literally is for anybody. I've been an avid comic reader since I was, I guess, 9 or 10 years old, and I'm 36. So again, there's levels in there where they'll be like, oh, that's pretty cool. That's different than I would have thought. But yes, you're right. It's about giving something for everybody. So again, like, if people like music, if they like games, if they like comics, videos, as we'll get into the animation and everything, it's giving a similar, it's all overall the same message, but it's in so many different containers, so to speak. It's kind of like protein. You can get protein from peanuts, you can get it from meat, you can get it from all these different things. It's all protein, but it's in all these different packages. And that's really what Tomorrow's End is all about. We don't have the Tomorrow's End protein bar coming out or anything, but but that's in general the I guess concept of it, putting the same nutrition, so to speak, within all these different containers.
Yeah, let's actually talk about that. So I had somebody on my show last night, a friend, Sean Barber, and he did a creepy pasta comic. So he adapted it with permission,
Mhm.
and really cool concept. And so everybody knows the story, but it's a new adaptation in a comic book. And obviously, it's going to be a fun book to read, and it's cool. And so, it's kind of fun when that happens. And it's just another way how to view the story and what's happening, the message that the story tells. And sometimes somebody might resonate with the reading it unread it. They might resonate hearing it, or they might resonate by, reading the comic book.
Mhm.
And everybody's different. Everybody's a different learner.
Mhm.
There's visual learners, there's practical learners, there's people who on certain things need both, and then everything in between. So what is that like? Because when you are getting your message out there, somebody might resonate with a comic and the music, but might say the board game didn't do it for me.
I agree. Yeah, you're 1,000% correct. That's why it's supposed to be in all the different forms. So that's why I always tell people, because every now and then, like even this weekend, when people come by our table, sometimes it can almost scare people off when they see so much stuff. They put their hand up and they're like, "You want me to buy all this?" And I'm like, "No, no, not at all. Please just." If you like any of this, you'll get a full experience. Now, if you do check it all out, there is even an overarching experience through that, but that takes some time and some dedication because there's so much content. But again, it's a bigger picture if you sample it all. But if you just do the comic, guess what? It's a full story. The music, full story. The videos, full story. The games, same thing, full story. So you're not leaving anybody out to where they have to do the other. They're all self-contained.
Yeah, so since we've been avoiding the con, we should just talk about it right now.
Okay, cool.
Obviously, it, last week we you were doing it, and I was just swamped, and a lot of
Mhm.
stuff was going on. So obviously, you went to a con. I don't know if this was your first con or if this was maybe one of the. I know it's an early con for you guys as
Well,
a
yeah,
company.
Yeah, I guess it's the first. We've been to the con before, and we even got to perform at it previously, and it's always been a great experience. But this is the first con where we've had all the our ducks in a row, as they would say, where we've actually had the comic, we've actually had the games, we've actually had the CDs, we've actually had, all the content, the card game, all these different
So
things.
was this also your first time tabling at a
No,
con?
no, we've done that previously, but it was just literally for the music portion before while we was getting all the other stuff ready. So this has been the first time where we actually could finally show people. I made a big flyer about it actually. I was like, this is what Tomorrow's End is. And we gave like so many of these away for free, just handing them out. And it has pretty much everything. It has that we're a band, a board game, a comic, cartoon, albums, video serial, the action figures that are coming out, and then we're even getting into painted, illustrated lyric videos. Instead of just doing a lyric video like a lot of bands do, we're literally commissioning an awesome artist named Christina Deal, and she is literally doing a painting, but it's not just one painting because we try to do things on multiple levels. So within this painting is multi images that develops a big tapestry where when you get closer and stuff, you realize there's more things going on. So this was the first time where we had all of these things ready and could go out to the public and say, hey, this is truly what we are. We're not just a band. We're literally a multimedia project. And the response was very well.
Yeah, let's kind of talk about this because obviously we were talking about stigma before,
Mm-hmm.
and camps unfortunately sometimes have stigmas. Sometimes people are turned off. Also, it's not exactly people just like I said, I guess stigmas and stigmatization. So, what was this like? That you obviously have all this stuff out there. You got the music, you got the board games,
Mm-hmm.
you got comics, and everything else that you do. And people were interested and were saying, "Hey, what is this?" And they were questioning because it's kind of, I would imagine, cool for you that it was welcomed and people were not intimidated. And
Mm-hmm.
even when you had all that stuff out there, it's kind of like, cool, what is this? I haven't seen this before because at this stage in the game, I feel with media and everything, people are looking for different things
Mm-hmm.
and they're getting sick of quote unquote the mainstream.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't really matter what you are, but they're saying, cool, I haven't seen this before, or this looks different from the opposite side of the con, or every other table, or every other product out there. What is this? And so, what was that like? Because I would imagine that, I don't know if you were expecting it to go that way, or if you had a feel that it was going to be like that, or what exactly was going to happen, but must still make you feel pretty good that people were very excited that you were down there and that it was a positive response.
Oh, definitely. Because I would, most of the people that came to our table even told us like, oh, some people, just flat out said, I'm not a Christian. I don't like it. And so, but you know what? Your stuff is different. Let's check it out. So again, it developed a conversation and even a witness. And, as if people tune in our first episode, I have my big testimony that I gave on it. I just don't want to extend this too long for you today, but I know you're recovering from surgery as I was
Oh,
last
you
time.
can speak as long as you want.
Oh, well, thank you. Well, here's the biggest thing. When I used to be I used to be on the other side of the table, so to speak, and I don't mean as a customer. I mean as a non-Christian. Like when I was 17, before I had bone cancer, I was the furthest thing away. I despised it. I didn't like the notion of it because any church I'd ever been invited to, any Christian that ever tried to witness to me, they would say one thing to me, and then they would be totally different the next day or in front of different people. And I'd be like, man, this stuff is fake. I'm not getting involved in this. This is just people trying to get out of class.
There's a word. It's called authenticity.
Bingo. I agree. And so, but then I was 17, I was about to graduate high school. I came down with a tumor in my left knee. It was bone cancer. And I started realizing I was turning away a perfect Christ and the message of Christ based on people that may not even know him or may not even serve him. They might say it, but again, I can tell you I'm a tree, but if you don't see branches coming out of me, it doesn't matter. So again, I accepted Christ and I've been almost 20 years, about 18 years now, cancer free. Praise God. And nothing I've did it. I give all the glory to Christ. And then I just had another miracle this, a couple months ago when I was on your show, I had the neck brace. I went in for a 5-level fusion. And it turned into a 3-level fusion, and the doctor couldn't even explain it. It was just a very big blessing. And so I've been on the other side of the table, so to speak, though. And what I always tell people is this is, again, this is what Tomorrow's End is, I guess, like physically, like with merchandise or with projects and with content. But that's not what Tomorrow's End fully is. The way you witness and what we truly try to do is, how are we talking to the people across the table? What about when we get gas and they overcharge us at a restaurant or anything like that? That's where you show your witness. That's where you show your values. Like you said, authenticity. That's actually where you show your faith and what you believe. It's not, again, this is just a platform to try to get that message out and to try to entertain people.
You're touching upon something that's so interesting. So the first interview I did out of surgery was with a friend of mine, Cap Santiago. He's a cosplayer. Mm-hmm. And we spoke about authenticity for 45 minutes. And one of the things is that what I've noticed, and it's not religious, what I've noticed, but I become a lot more authentic. I become a lot more opinionated, stating my opinions, also stating things that people somewhat disagree with on certain things. But people are like, Andrew believes every word he's saying. Mm-hmm. And my subscribers on YouTube have gone up. My followers on Facebook have gone up. My Instagram's gone up. My TikTok's gone up. And it's very interesting when people start becoming authentic, whether you agree with them or not. People respect authenticity. And I think that for the longest time, for the last 5 years, it's been very much suppressed. And I think that's something that you're tapping into. And even if somebody's not a Christian, but if they say, well, these people really believe in their mission, there's a level of respect, and they're going to at least ask a question to you, and they're going to stop and say, hey, what's this? And I think it's a very interesting thing that's going on in society. I don't think it's Christianity. I think that society is in a very pivotal position where people are getting sick of, I guess, fakers, for lack of a better word. And whether you agree with somebody's belief or not, I think people want to know that somebody believes in X.
Oh, no. And that's actually why people kept on coming to our table, and they kept on accepting the stuff we was given. Don't get me wrong, some people turned it away once they saw what it was. But the majority did not. The majority actually took it, and they said they was going to sample it, and they was very interested in it. We had many engaging conversations, and I do believe it's because we do everything we can to be authentic, because at the end of the day, if we're not doing what we say we're doing, and we don't believe what we say we believe, none of this means anything. You might as well just throw it up or burn it or whatever. But the fact that we're trying to practice what we preach, so to speak, that's hopefully what will make this even more we're I guess powerful in the sense that people, like you just said, people's like, whoa, they really believe this, so let's check it out. Let's see where that passion goes. What is that passion created? And that's really, I think, why we had such an awesome experience over the 3-day weekend.
I also believe I host a show, which was right before yours, about an hour before you came on, called Embolden. And it's about having adult conversations in comics and pop culture on controversial issues is the whole point of the show. And I've spoken about AI art. I was speaking about ownership. I've spoken about how to deal with bad actors. We spoke about that 90s show in Velma, but that was a fun episode. I get to do one of those every once in a while. But the whole point of the show is to have, real conversations, and have conversations that are difficult to have. Maybe they're not fun to have, but, I think that's also something that really probably helped you too at this con, is that you wanted to have a conversation. You were open to having a conversation. Even if somebody's like, I'm not a Christian, you were still willing to have a conversation. And that's a big problem in this country right now, is that people do not want to have conversations on anything. And whether you agree with somebody or don't agree with them, or you don't think you can convince them, if I am not a Christian and you want to convince me to convert to Christianity, you have to talk to me first. Or you can even convince me to do X. Or to simplify it out of religion to prove the point, if I don't like pasta and you want to convince me to like pasta, you have to talk to me about pasta first before you can convince me. And I think that's something that, probably really was helpful. and why people were somewhat gravitating, because you treated people with some respect and
I
decency.
Yeah, I agree, and that's one thing we can't forget, because again, in our culture, it's so divided and everything. You have to treat people, guess what? Like people. You can't just treat them like, oh, that guy's different than me, or that girl's different than me, or or oh my gracious, they're wearing a different color. I don't even like that color, so I can't talk to those people. That's crazy. We're all people. And the way to engage people is to first of all treat them like people. And if you're coming from the worldview and the perspective we are, we try to treat them from the Christian perspective, where we're literally, if we're not doing what we're trying to put in the comics and the CDs and stuff, why is anybody going to listen to it? Why is anybody going to say, boy, you know what, this message is true, when they just met a bunch of jerks at the table that are not, that are, doing totally something different. So it's just about literally approaching people the way that you should be approaching people, treating them like people, treating them with respect, and then talking to them and literally having conversations, not just talking to the guy that can get you to the next level. Because a lot of people do that. Like when somebody comes to their table and it's like a higher up or something like that, they'll pay attention to them because they want to go up the ladder, so to speak. But it's about talking to the kids, the teenagers, anybody, and just having conversations.
Yeah, no, I think it's very, very important. I think it's super, super, super interesting. And I think that obviously a lot of people can take lessons. And believe me, I speak to a lot of people from all
Mhm.
across. And I like speaking to higher ups, lower ups, all that stuff, because it's interesting. And there's a reason why I'll interview a cosplayer who only has 1,000 followers on Instagram, and
Mhm.
then I'll interview somebody who has 1 million,
Mhm.
because it's interesting and it's wonderful. But I do want to talk about the other two things outside of the con, which is the animation.
Okay.
And what is that like? Because that wasn't on the table. I don't know how much you know about me. I'm a huge Japanese animation pop culture fan. I love Japan. I watch a lot of anime. I love everything about it. And I know it's not necessarily the same
Mhm.
animation as, some of that stuff that's out there on Crunchyroll,
Mhm.
but you are doing cartoon animation. And that's kind of a game changer to some degree. And it's releasing a minute at a time, and then it'll be a full episode. But it's another thing to do and another way to convey a message. And after a certain amount of time, you're going to have a full episode.
Yeah, exactly. And the reason doing it like that is because each 1 minute is jam packed with story and action within that 1 minute. It's in kind of the spirit and the style of, every time you say Clone Wars, people remember the CG series with Star Wars and stuff. But before that, there
The
was
Cartoon Network
the
stuff that
Cartoon
was 2
Network.
minutes, right?
Yeah,
And good
exactly.
stuff.
Yeah, very, very well done, and they got a lot done in those micro episodes, and that's kind of the same format where we are doing it. It's kind of got an anime flair and stuff. The guy that's doing it, he's a professional animator. Worked at animation studio previously. Pedro Ang, awesome, awesome artist, awesome animator, and he's got 2 episodes done, and we're just waiting till we have the first 4 done, so that way every week we release them. By the time we get done with, guess what, episode 4, episode 5 and 6 is right there, 7 and 8. So it'll be within the next few months, but they will be released, and they are, like I tell people, sometimes, like I said, when people see this big sheet, they're like, huh, that's too much. I can't get involved in that. I don't have enough time. You don't have to get involved in all of it, but if you like any of it, try it out. It's going to be free. It's going to be on YouTube. It's even going to be appearing with our video serial, which I believe will start either this Saturday night or next Saturday night on a Roku channel called Tingler Television. It's a upstart channel on Roku, and we're being blessed to be a part of that in 15-minute increments at 9:30 every Saturday night. So after the video serial plays all the way through with the live action, then the animation will start playing on that. And of course, it'll be on our YouTube channel as well. But I'm a big cartoon fan myself. I grew up late 80s, early 90s. So I was a big fan of most of the stuff that was outsourced outside of the country. And like some stuff ain't even anime, just like the American cartoons that were literally outsourced. And they was always beautiful, very well done. And so that's why we wanted to put it. And it is probably, I'd say, more of, it's teenager to adult, the cartoon. Like the first episode, it has a character's head get chopped off and stuff. But I mean,
At
yeah, you see that in the Bible too, though. I always tell people, because sometimes people hear that and say, "I thought this was a Christian project." Well, I mean, David was, David beheaded Goliath as well. So again, this isn't out of the norm.
Hey, God needed to work through some issues in the early days.
So, but I do hope that people really, respond well to it. I sent you a little clip, I believe, on Facebook where it was just like a little bitty test animation. So I will definitely be sharing this with you directly as soon as the first episode's out, so you can check it out and give me your feedback.
So even to go further into this, because it really is interesting and it's just another thing out there. And obviously I'm in the process and I really haven't disclosed this where I don't want to do animation, but I definitely want to start producing some cool pop culture documentary stuff. And I'm looking for somebody. I have the first one in mind. I want to have a complete history of Kingdom Hearts from all the games. And I'm willing to pay somebody some decent amount of money on my YouTube channel to own it because I think it'd be really cool. I think it'd be beneficial to so many people. And I know nothing about the history, so it's really for me too. But I think it's really interesting because the episode before you, and I'm referencing a lot, was about ownership of content and producing content. And this kind of falls into that vein a little bit of producing it. And then I know it's not about the money, but even the monetization side of this stuff, the hook side of this, also the customer acquisition cost of all that stuff really plays into these 1 minute things, the full episode thing, and who knows where it's going to go. And so it's really has unlimited potential in a lot of ways on where it can go, how it can be utilized, and a bunch of other stuff. So that's really interesting. And you can do whatever you want with it, which is awesome. There's not a wrong way to go on how to utilize it. It's just whatever direction you want to do it because it becomes a very cool tool. So that's something just to keep in the back of everybody's head right there. But yeah, and then I want to talk about the stop motion stuff too. I tried stop motion once. 10 seconds is complicated in stop motion. I am not a fan of it. I'm not gonna lie, it is really hard. So what's going on with that too? Because that I respect people who do stop motion well.
Well, yeah,
frustrating.
And that's frustrating. That's the reason I've told everybody when they've asked about it. It'll be out sometime this year. If that's December 31st, 2023, it still counts as this year because it is a time consuming process. It will take time. What we have done, the artist of the comic, Dan Drews from Indiana, awesome brother in Christ, awesome artist in general. He's also a customizer. So he's taken like action figures. I don't know if you can see it on this, but there'll be the flyers on our Facebook if anybody wants to check it out. But he made custom action figures of the comic characters, the XITS and question mark character, the villains that appear, and it will be using stop motion to animate a story about 1 to 2 minutes per episode that will actually, show people something in a different art form, kind of just in the style. Have you seen a lot of action figure animation on like YouTube and stuff?
I've seen some of it.
Okay.
I mean, I've seen what is it, Team America?
Some of that stuff's really well done, and it's just about putting again the story within that to where there's a lot of people that collect action figures nowadays. There's a lot of people that like to see them animated to see what you can do with an action figure, and so it's taken that, I guess, those principles, those utensils, so to speak, and using it to tell the same to tell a similar story. Everything, it's not the exact same story in all the medium, or that's going to get boring, but it's a similar thing. And again, if somebody just likes that doesn't mean they have to check out the cartoon or the comics or spend the whole month of April just delved into Tomorrow's in content because it might take that long. But it just means that you can sample that and it'll still be a fulfilling experience. If you want to branch out, try it because it's all going to be available for free for you to sample. So I'm a big stop motion fan though in general. I just grew up.
I like it. I just
don't want to do
it. Nothing against. Yeah. I respect people who do it. I tried doing it. I had a Nintendo 3DS. You could do stop motion on it. I made like a 10-second video. It took me like 4 hours. No, definitely. Thank you again. No, thank you again, because I respect it. I appreciate the art. It is not for me to do it myself. But I'll watch it. I'm more than happy to watch it.
Well, thank you. Yeah. I think that's cool. But yeah, you make one mistake and you got to start all the way over sometimes. So it's definitely can be a stressful situation. But Jessica, actually my sister-in-law is going to be helping with all of that, and she does a good job. So I'm excited for everybody to see that. It'll be out sometime this year, just not for sure the exact date yet. But I promise we have plenty of things in the meantime for you. Again, the cartoon will be coming out. More comic issues will be coming out. We're actually going to do a tutorial, like a playthrough. I don't know if you've seen those on YouTube, like with board game, where we can actually play the card game. We can play the board game all the way through. And we're actually going to certain different podcasts where we're actually just going to go to somebody's that likes board games, that has a board game podcast, and actually play through on their channel. So that way we can show how easy it is for a newcomer to it, but also what it entails. And, you know, if people's having fun or if they're flipping the board, so to speak. So,
No. You got a lot going on. A lot of fun stuff's happening. And obviously you got a lot of product coming out, and a bunch of it is out. A bunch of it is going to be coming out. And there's just a lot of different access points for everybody to come into this. And, you know, I've said it before, is that you do not have to be a Christian to enjoy this, to enjoy these messages. You know, there's plenty. I'm an investor. It's in my name. And I've taken a bunch of good lessons from the Bible about investing. That doesn't mean I'm a Christian. It just means that just because something is a good lesson doesn't matter where it's from, is my point. Is that, and that's good. So I think that, you know, anybody who's reading this, watching this, can get a lot of good morality out of what you do.
well, thank you very much for the overview and for supporting us, and again for having me on again today. I appreciate it. It's so the tables have turned since as usually they say in the comics, since last we met. Last time I was in a neck brace, literally just got done with my neck surgery, and now you are you know, with your foot surgery.
I am casted in a cast with my foot, and it's relatively good. I'm dealing with a little bit of issues, but I think the surgery has gone well, everybody, in case anybody, I got no qualms stating it. It's nothing a secret. It's not anything, whatever. I think it's gone well. I think everything's going to go well. It's just that every once in a while, you know, get a little spasm and a little bit of pain med. But yeah, no, it's kind of funny. It's ironic, but very happy to obviously have done my surgery. It's gone well. But enough about me, because this is not about me. I do actually want to back out of all this, and I am very curious where you view comics and even pop culture and all that stuff, because obviously you're a fan of all this.
Yes.
And I don't know how deep you go, whether that's Disney or Hulu or everything that's out on HBO Max, Netflix. But where do you see pop culture going? Because it's interesting to me, because we're in weird times right now. In what's coming out, what's available, how people are, you know, buying things or holding off on things. And so I'm just curious your opinion on that. And I know it's a little step outside.
Oh, no, that's cool. No, good question, actually. I've heard so many people say, you know, the day of the theater is over. The day of the theater is over because we have streaming, which to a degree, in some instances, that has been the case. But we just saw Avatar. Again, look how well it has done. It's what I think third highest grossing movie of all time now, behind Avatar 1 and Endgame, I think. So again, it's the same process, and I think the same thing's going to always go on. Yes, if you're making a subpar product or something people feel they can wait on, yes, your time at the theater may be, you know, your days may be numbered. But if you can make something where people's like, I cannot wait, I've got to see this, I do not want this being spoiled, guess what? Then you're going to have people go to the theater, but you have to deliver. I think the problem with a lot of the, like, I'm a humongous comic fan, humongous movie fan. With a lot of the DC and even some of the later Marvel movies, people have expected something. So they've went out to the theater, they've purchased their ticket, their popcorn, you know, spent $50 a night or whatever to watch a movie. And then what they wind up doing is they're like, well, that was a pretty big letdown. So then the next one comes out and they see it streaming, they're just going to do that. I mean, why wouldn't they? They just wasted $50 and didn't have a great experience. It's the same, you know, kind of the idea I take across all the board of all the stuff we do is just make sure people are having a good time. Make sure that it's an engaging enough product, story, movie, whatever it is. And if you do that, I think people will go. But I do think that the stuff without the big following or that doesn't have the big payoff, I think it will be a lot of times relegated to streaming and stuff, because why are they going to leave their house if it ain't an experience? I don't know if you've ran into this a lot, but sometimes I ask people, hey, have you seen that? And they're like, I don't know. When I watch something, if I like it, I remember it. I'm not going to forget. A lot of people were having subpar experiences. So they're like, I don't know. I might have saw that. What was it about? So you don't need to leave people with that, mentality. They need to be like, whoa, that was cool, man. Like the Flash trailer. I was a humongous, we talked, I think that's when we reconnected, was the night it came on during the Super Bowl, actually. And I'm a big Michael Keaton mark. And so when I saw that, I was like, whoa, I'm definitely going to go see that in the theater. That was really, really cool. So again, it made an impact on me. And I think that's the biggest thing. If you make an impact on people, pop culture and theaters will continue to prosper and stuff. But if you're not making that impact, or you're, not giving a good experience, I think a lot of that stuff will get relegated to streaming.
Yeah. I mean, I'll be very honest. I mean, I really don't care about the Flash. It doesn't interest me. It doesn't look bad. It's just that I really don't care. The Mario movie, though.
Oh, it looks good. Yeah.
That I'm excited for. And I sent you like a gift, and I thought that was funny. And I'm super excited for that.
Oh, it does. It does look really, really good.
And then I'm super excited for the Barbie movie too, because that looks like, it almost looks like a Nightmare Before Christmas meets Batman, just pinkified. It's gonna be a weird one, and I think it's gonna make a lot more money than people are gonna give it credit for. I really do. I think it's gonna be an amazing hit. And I think that people are underestimating it because I'm super excited for it. It's Barbie, and it looks awesome.
I haven't even seen a trailer. I didn't even know if it was out yet. So there is a trailer for it?
There's a trailer, but nobody knows what it's going to deal with. But it just looks fun. It looks like one of those things where it's almost like a pink Batman type thing without any supervillains. Like I don't know how to describe it. It's like the weirdest thing ever, and it's going to be absolutely fantastic because I'm just going to like walk into it, and I think everyone's going to walk in thinking, hey, and be like, I don't think I could be the same walking out of that movie. But it's going to be a blast. It's going to be a fun one. But again, maybe I'll see the Flash. I don't know, but that's okay. I'm definitely going to see the Mario movie, but I digress. But yeah, I was just curious your opinion on it, because obviously, I have my opinions, and everybody has a viewpoint now. So,
and I would say that spills over to comics too. That because I've heard people say the comics, the comic genre, the day of the printed book is gone. And I disagree. I think if you're making a good product, or people want to keep on coming back, they'll keep on printing it. Why wouldn't they? I think the issue is the same thing, like kind of like with the movies. When people are not I don't know if you run into this with people on your show, but a lot of times people say, hey, do you have that issue? Like, usually if you collect comics, if you're having an experience, you're going to remember, hey, I paid $8 or $7 or $5 for that issue.
What happens in the indie world is that there's a lot of books that should not be kickstarted, and they should just go direct to publishing. But people need to kickstart a book because running and producing a comic, and I don't need to tell you, is expensive.
It is.
I mean, it's not like, obviously, if you were producing a television show, that'd be way more money. It's not expensive the same way of, doing a full, animated 10-episode season or something. But, to produce a comic isn't cheap either. But one of the things is that a lot of people, they kickstart a book, and then the book is a disaster. It's bad. And it's that I don't need to know that somebody is a horrible person for an issue and a half when you could have told me in 2 pages. They're just a bad person, and it's a redemption story. I don't need a whole issue of what a horrible human being they are. I don't need that. I need 2 pages of that to get the point across. And at $20 a pop, that's what's happening. And also people say, well, that really wasn't memorable. And then I look at it, and I'm 3 issues in, I just spent $60 on I have a bad experience, and I have a bad taste in my mouth.
I agree with you, actually. I 1,000% agree with you. And I think that's why so many people are like, even like with mainstream books, Marvel and DC, why so many people taper off whenever, that they're promised, with advertising, which, don't get me wrong. I know when you advertise, you're not supposed to say, hey, this is subpar, check it out if you want. You're supposed to say, hey, this is the coolest thing, but you have to deliver on those things, or you wind up hurting your audience because they're like, oh, they just told me this last crossover was
Yeah,
going to be, world changing, and nothing happened. They
I
changed.
agree too. I agree too. But the difference is that when it's $4 versus 20
Oh, I
bucks,
agree. I agree with you. Yes,
that 20 bucks stings a lot more than
I
the
agree.
$4 from
I
Marvel.
agree. I agree.
I can take a $4 book not delivering
Mm-hmm.
and it stings, but it doesn't hurt. A
Mm-hmm.
$20 book not delivering that I have to wait that's late by 3 months
Mm-hmm.
is much worse. It's like it's not getting hit once, it's getting hit like 10 times
Mm-hmm.
in a row. So, but I digress. I'm sure the people who are watching and listening, they could think of at least 3 or 4 people who I'm referring to when I say that. My audience knows what books I have issues with. Very, very, very well. But I do want to give you a chance to promote yourself because obviously we've been speaking for an hour, and obviously, I do want to give you a chance to promote yourself. Where can people find you, bother you, support what you're doing, buy your music, the comics, posters, board games, card games, T-shirts? I don't know if you have
Yes,
T-shirts.
yes, we have T-shirts, we have guitar picks, we have wristband stickers, and we're here very shortly. We're partnering with an awesome. I guess you would call her she's a producer of like stuffed animals. We're gonna have like plushies at some point, like of the characters and stuff, like stuffed versions. I don't know what the appropriate name is, but there'll be stuffed versions.
Plushie's good. Plushie's good. That's a
Okay.
good word.
Well, but yeah, so she's really cool, awesome at what she does, and we will be releasing those shortly on the website in a few months. Once they actually get to us, it's going to be a moment. But yeah, what people can do if people want to support us, they can go to Facebook. We have a friends page, we have a likes page. Some people say that's confusing, but not if you just look for friends or if you look for the likes page, because some people truly would rather just be our friend. If you want to just friend us and have a conversation with us, message us and stuff like that, go to the friends page. And then if you want to, you can still like the likes page. It doesn't mean you have to do either or, but there's a lot of people that will friend you, but will not like your page, and vice versa. There's a lot of people that like the page, but they don't want to be on your friends list. So we give both options. But if they friend us or if they like our page, that helps. Also, if they go to the YouTube channel and subscribe, that helps us as well. Because again, we're going to be producing more and more and more content. So the more subscribers you have, that always helps. But if they want any of the physical merchandise, they can go to tomorrowsend.com under the store tab. You can get the comics, you can get the board game, the card game, the magazine, which explains what this whole thing is. They can get the CDs, T-shirts, all the physical merchandise. But it also has a branch where if you want to sample it before you buy it, it has where you can go listen to these songs first. All 40's on there. It has where you can watch the video serial first. It has, and here shortly it'll have the comic book online as well, where you can actually sample that as well before you purchase it. So yeah, that's really the 4 main things. Again, we're on Instagram as well, but that the other 3 are really the biggest places you can support us.
Yeah, and I've been saying, and I'm going to keep saying it, you have to support indie and projects that you like. And so if you like something, you believe in something, whether it's comics, music, television, animation, board games, or whatnot, you need to go out and you need to buy it, because without financial support, stuff doesn't get made. And so it is a very, very, very big deal to go out and buy what you like. And if you like something, go buy it, and chances are more of it will get made. And so that's something that I'm a big advocate of. Furthermore, you should be following people on social media as well, because following somebody on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, it's free and it might not seem like a big deal. But guess what? If you follow it, lets people know, hey, this is out there. It affects the algorithms. And then also interacting with people on those platforms helps too, because again, it's sharing it out, and that makes a huge difference as well. And so that's something that I think people really need to understand, is that when somebody engages with me on Twitter or on Instagram, it helps me, and plenty of people have discovered my show because of that. And if you have a product, it's no different. So keep that in mind. And then as far as I'm concerned about me, obviously my social media is Pop Anime Comics on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Also, I just released my ad rates. If you like to advertise on my show and it's a good fit, or you have questions about that, that is out there. I have t-shirts on Redbubble. Again, description is in the comments down below, or it's up above or to the side, depending on where you're viewing this. And a variety of other stuff. So obviously, I appreciate all the supports, and please subscribe on YouTube, because my goal is to get to 510 subscribers. I am 8 away by the end of March. So I think it is doable. I think it is doable to get to 510 subscribers on YouTube by the end of March. And I would like to break that. So we are 8 away. So if you like what I do and I'm engaging in, and you like my content, please subscribe on YouTube, because it will make me very happy. And that's everything I got. And on that note, I'm going to give you the final word.
Thank you so much. I just always tell people, again, please, if you want to give us a try, sample some of the free stuff we have, go to YouTube, go to the .com, try it out, and don't ever let people turn you off to Christ that may not have Christ themselves. But at the end of the day, I always leave people with a question: are you ready for tomorrow's end?
And on that note, everybody, I don't think I could say it any better myself. So that is a wrap.